So you sent off your CV and your covering letter for that dream job, and they're impressed. You're called into the interview. They welcome you. You shake hands and they ask you the first question. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. What do you do? What do you say? Where do you begin? Well, this question will be asked at almost every interview. And let me tell you that this is a trick question. They are not asking you to tell you about yourself. To find out why, stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Let Them Talk, and today we're going to look at how to answer the interview question, tell me about yourself. We've got some general tips, and if English is not your first language, we'll look at how you can approach it if you're not so confident about your English level. Okay, as I said at the beginning, this is kind of a trick question. They are not asking you to tell them your life story, and they are not asking you to talk in detail about your professional and educational experience and background. Why should they do that? They've got your CV, they've read your covering letter, they know all there is to know. So why should they ask this question? What they want to know is if you possess the art of communication. Can you engage? Can you keep them interested? Can you tell a story? The question beneath the question is, we know you have got what it takes to do the job on paper, but let's see what you're like as a candidate. And this is your chance to make a good first impression. Okay, so let's look at how to answer the question. Okay, rule number one, keep it brief. Very important. Keep it brief. 1 to 3 minutes should be enough. I would say 5 minutes is too long. 10 minutes, way too long. You could probably say goodbye to the job. Don't tell your life story. You don't get any points for giving a long answer, and you risk alienating the interviewers. You do not need to talk about everything on your CV. This is just the first question. And if you forget something, if you get something important, it doesn't matter. You can discuss it later in the interview. Your answer should pique curiosity, and the interviewer should be thinking, I want to know more. And not, I already know too much. So what's the content of your answer? You should basically tell them a story about your professional background and educational background if it relates to the current position. Now you should mention some of these things. Okay, so start by giving some adjectives to describe yourself, especially ones that are relevant to the job you're seeking. Say something about how you started. You could mention an accomplishment. You could talk about your motivation. Tell them a story of how you changed something or made a difference in your previous job or at university. Tell them what you can do for them and what you want for the future and why you're best suited for the job. Okay, so you can cover some of those points. That would be great. Okay, and finally, give some personal detail to add color or to show that you are an all-rounded individual and your life doesn't revolve exclusively around work. But this should be very brief, just a few words. I know that some recruitment advisors say that you shouldn't say anything personal when answering this question, but personally I think it's good to show that you have a life outside of work, and if one of your interviews shares the same interest, it can help you bond. But as I said, keep it very short. So that's essentially the what, but how you tell it is much, much more important. As I said, the question is a challenge to you to engage with them and to connect with them on an emotional level. Often the words you use are less important than how you say them. So remember, rule number 1, maintain good eye contact throughout. Okay, this seems obvious, but I've seen so many candidates who don't look you in the eye, and it's quite disengaging. Have a good tone of voice with nice rolling intonation, not flat so that you sound like a robot. When you get passionate, raise your voice a little. Don't shout though. You can speed up, you can slow down, you can use hand gestures. Personally, I like that. Some people sit with their hands on their lap, but I think it's good to look a little animated. And speak informally. Your covering letter and your CV is probably written in formal English, but when you speak, make it sound more conversational. If it sounds too formal, you can sound distant and unapproachable. And for the same reason, don't memorize your answer. Learn the key points, yes, but let the words come out naturally and leave room for spontaneity. If English is not your first language, you might be worried about your grammar, making mistakes. Well, certainly you shouldn't be. First of all, the interviewers are not grammar teachers. Unless, of course, you're going for a job as an English language teacher, and that's a different story. I assure you that they won't notice any small grammar mistakes. They want to know that you can communicate in English. You can have perfect grammar and be a bad communicator. And you can have not good grammar and be a great communicator. And that's what they want. And as I said, the words you use are much less important than the way you communicate and the story you tell. So even if your level of English is not that great, you can answer this question and it will put you in a good position for the rest of the interview. Okay, I've talked enough about this, so let me just finish by giving an example. So imagine I'm a project manager at an interview for a new job. Okay, so tell me about yourself. Okay. I would describe myself as someone who is versatile and determined, and someone who loves learning. I'm creative, open-minded and easygoing, and I enjoy working with others. And I try to use all these qualities in my professional life. For the last 6 years, I've been working at XYZ company. I started out at the help desk where I worked closely with clients and I built some good relationships. After that, I did a number of roles in the company and have been promoted several times. Now, for the last 3 years, I've been working as a project manager. The company has been pretty successful, and I like to think that I contributed to that success. My team has been developing accounting software for the publishing industry, and within 2 years we came from nowhere to being the number 1 product in the field. And actually I wasn't looking for a new job. I'm quite happy where I am. And I kind of came across your job ad by accident, but it really captivated my imagination. Your company is renowned for being one of the most innovative in the sector. And I know this is a more senior role than my current position, but I do have the skills and the experience and the passion you need. And I do believe I can make a positive impact. And that's why I'm here today. So in a nutshell, that's who I am professionally. And when I'm not working, I like to go hiking at weekends, and I like reading books. Okay, that's it. I hope you found that useful. And if you have any tips of your own about how to answer this question, do put them in the comments. And good luck with the interview. Stay mellow, and I'll see you next time.